Jungle.
Alright, so good morning everyone, and thank you for tuning into MFM Radio and TV. It's a beautiful Monday morning today, the fifth day in the month of August year 2024. Good morning Africa, good morning Nigerians, and good morning to you all listening to MFM Radio and TV this morning. Alright, so like they say, success is not the key to happiness, but happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will definitely be successful. So always believe in yourself. Pursue your passions and let your heart guide you towards your dreams. Alright, so today is the birthday of our chairman, the CEO of the Aces Hotel and Conference Center, and also the CEO of MFM Radio and TV, right in the beautiful city of Ibadan. We wish you plenty of joy today and every day of the coming year. On your birthday, sir, we wish you peace, good health, and happiness. Alright, so you're welcome back to another exciting and engaging edition or from the newspaper, streaming live from MFM Radio and TV, right here in the beautiful city of Ibadan. MFM Radio and TV is the station where we get to set the agenda, and everything that we say here in this station, everything that we project is nothing but the truth. My name is Mobolaji Karim. I'm from the newspaper, like I said, is that newspaper review show, right here at MFM Radio and TV. That is in three segments. The very first segment of the program this morning is the weather forecast report for the three major cities in Nigeria: the Federal Capital Territory Abuja, the commercial city of Lagos State, and the vibrant city of Ibadan, where we are transmitting live from this morning. The second segment of the program this morning is the headlines making rounds on the front pages of our national dailies, and the last segment of the program this morning is the details to the stories. Alright, so I'm not doing this alone today. I have my partner in the studio.
Good morning to you all. I'm Oisola Kayode from AFM Radio and TV.
Alright.
Don't forget to click on the like button, share, and comment.
Alright, so yeah, you can join us. You can join us on Facebook at MFN TV. You can be a part of the conversation this morning. Just go right there to our platform. Do well to like, leave a comment, and also share this program. And of course, our studio lines are always open. If you have anything to say, if you have any comment to make on the stories that we'll be taking a look at this morning, you can call us at 0815 9194247 to be a part of the conversation this morning.
Your Jungle.
Alright, so like I said, the very first segment of the program this morning is the weather forecast report for the three major cities in Nigeria. And this morning I'll be starting with the Federal Capital Territory Abuja. In Abuja, from exactly 10 a.m. we have showers, and the weather temperature is 23 degrees Celsius. 11 a.m., 12 p.m. the weather is now mostly cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. the weather is now partly sunny with 26 degrees. 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. the weather is still mostly sunny with 25 degrees Celsius. 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. we have intermittent clouds, and the weather temperature is 23 degrees. 10 p.m., 11 p.m. the weather is now very cloudy with 23 degrees Celsius.
Right here in the Ibadan city of Ibadan, where we're streaming live from. By exact 10 a.m., the weather is 26 degrees Celsius and it's cloudy. By 11 a.m., the weather is 27 degrees Celsius with showers. By 12 p.m., the weather is 28 degrees Celsius and it's raining. By 1 p.m., the weather is 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy. By 2 p.m., the weather
start about the weather forecast report for the three major cities in Nigeria. I know we always do this every morning. We always give you the weather forecast report for these cities every morning. So it's going to help you to plan your day and also prepare you for any type of weather condition ahead of the day. So you know that in Ibadan and Abuja today, the chances that it will rain in these two cities is quite high. All right, so moving straight to the headlines for this morning. Alright, so kick-starting with the Punch newspaper as always. The lead story says, Hunger protest, Tinubu's speech attract knocks and kudos, and page 2 has the details to that story. Just 3 writers to that story, and the very first one says, Soyinka PDP slam presidential address, NGO orders elite, and the last writer to the story this morning says, protest organizers demand 1,150 detainees released, and page 2 has the details to that story. Alright, so above the Punch newspaper for this morning on page 32, retail investors may shun bank stocks as shareholders lose 1.6 trillion naira, and page 32 has the details. See on page 32 of the Punch newspaper for today, marketers stop fuel supply, queues resurface, and page 32 has the analysis to that story. Public debt may hit 130 trillion naira by December, says report, and page 32 has the detail. On sport, how we broke 20-year jinx to reach Olympics quarter-final, says the Tigress, and page 45 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, so on page 42 of the Punch newspaper for this morning, JAMB gives tertiary institutions ultimatum to disclose illegal admissions, and page 42 has the detail. NDLEA arrests 12 with drugs hidden in baby food items, and pages 4 and 5 has the details to that story. Alright, so finally the last headline this morning on the Punch newspaper is on page 31, and the story says hardship states get 507 billion grant, and page 31 has the details to that story.
In page 6 on the Guardian newspaper, and it says, the lead headline says, outrage over rehash of old policies, threat failure to sue protesters. On page 3 in the Guardian newspaper, protest 52 billion naira worth of looting is setback to entrepreneurial investments. On page 12 in the Guardian newspaper, livestock ministry must end open grazing conflict. Nationwide protest banner remains best option, says you. Details in page 7 in the Guardian newspaper. Import duty FX rises to 1,680 naira, $1 despite Tinubu's pledge. That is on page 3 in the Guardian newspaper. Livestock ministry must not open grazing conflict. That is on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper. Nationwide protest dialogue remains best. Council autonomy, or your chairman pulls out album to form new association. The details is on page 7 in the Guardian newspaper. Kano judiciary probes looting of court as protest continues. The details is on page 28 in the Guardian newspaper. Poor internet service lingers as NCC denies new tariff. The details is on page 5 in the Guardian newspaper.
Alright, so moving on to the next newspaper this morning is the Nigerian Tribune, and the lead news on page 22 says, National broadcast, what Tinubu should have said, says Soyinka, Atiku and Falana, and page 22 has the details to that story. Alright, so quite a lot of riders to that, and the very first one says President's speech fell short of addressing continuing deterioration of state seizure of protest management, says Shoyinka. His address failed to offer any immediate solutions to the Nigerian people, says Atiku. Insensitivity of protesters demand can only provoke continued action, says Falano. And the last rider to the story this morning says Tinubu has not disappointed Nigerians, says Okupe, and page 22 has a detail. Above the Tribune newspaper this morning on page 2, we can't afford new electricity tariff. Universities tell discourse, and page 2 has the analysis to that story. On page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper for this morning, Dangote Refinery, civil societies to monitor crude sales compliance by NNPCL, and page 7 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Why have we accept ceremonial beaded crown, says Ladoja. Olubadan goes to church for Thanksgiving, and page 2 has the analysis to that story. Another story on page 7 of the Tribune newspaper for this morning says 200 billion naira consumer credit will make life easier for Nigerians, says President Tinubu, and page 7 has the detail. On page 8, illegal admission, JAMB give institution 1 month to submit list of affected students, and page 8 has the details to that story. On page 25 of the Tribune newspaper for this morning, Enugu government approved 183 billion naira for 141 urban, 20 rural roads, and page 25 has the details to that story. Alright, so now below the Tribune newspaper on page 8. Security challenges persist because Nigeria is surrounded by Francophone countries, says DG Army Center, and page 8 has the details to that story. NDLEA seizes large shipment hiding in body compartment of 4 vehicles, and the rider to the story says arrested in Lagos, Ondo, Edo, Kogi raised, and page 26 has the details to that story. On page 6, terminal operators on collision costs over accumulated port charges, and page 6 has the detail. On page 4 of the Tribune newspaper for today, ex-ADC presidential candidate Kachiku rejects protest violence against Tinubu government, and page 4 has the details to that story. Alright, so finally the last headline this morning on the Tribune newspaper is on page 6, and the story says economic loss of protests can't be estimated, says budget minister, and page 6 has the analysis to that story. Alright, so quite a lot of riders to that, and the very first one says Sanwo-Olu opens engagement channels with leaders. Atiku condemns the use of live ammunition. Kano relaxes curfew by 6 hours, and the last rider to the story says Osun please heighten security as protester hold open church service, and pages 2 and 4 has the details to that story.
Tinubu's speech fails to address hardship among Nigerians, says Atiku. His broadcast didn't address police brutality against protesters, says Wole Soyinka. Address economic contractions, NECA task government. Talkers rubbish Tinubu protest speech, says President Brave of ideas. Now on page 13 in Vanguard, also in Vanguard newspaper, federal government reforms have not brought promises renewed hope, says Catholic bishops. On page 27 captained by generals, XE was the only option. Now in sports, and it says the Tigers beat Canada 79-70 to reach first Olympic quarterfinals.
Alright, so taking the final set of headlines this morning from the Nation newspaper, and the lead news on page 8 says protesters leave Lagos ground, desert Abuja Benin venues, and page 8 has the details to that story. Alright, so just to right after that, and the very first one says Sanwo-Olu opens engagement channels, Soyinka out to handle protesters, and page 8 has the details.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, so above the Nation newspaper for this morning on page 6. 6 building material manufacturing upcoming, says housing minister, and page 6 has the details to that story. Still on page 6 of the Nation newspaper for today, Fintiri, Kachiku, Okocha give presidents more time, and the analysis to these stories on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. JAMB issues ultimatum to varsities over illegal admission, and page 6 has the detail. How we are reforming economic agric orders by Tinubu, and page 3 has the details to that story. And that story on the Nation newspaper this morning is on page 7. And the story is Oyo Council chairman pull out of Algon, and page 7 has the details to that story. On page 6, ministers on part to boost intra-African trade, and page 6 has the analysis to that story. On page 7 of the Nation newspaper for this morning, Ladaja accept beaded crown, and page 7 has the details to that story. Alright, so finally the last headline this morning is on page 31, and the story on sports says Olympics quarterfinals, President hails the Tigress, and page 31 has the analysis to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, so that's that about the second segment of the program this morning, which is the headlines making rounds on the front pages of our national dailies. And of course, we've given you the headlines from the Punch newspaper, the Viacard newspaper, the Guardian, the Nation, and the Tribune. These are the 5 newspapers that we brought to you this morning. Alright, so like I always say, you might want to stay updated with any of this interesting story. Just go right there to any of this newspaper to further read on the story for this morning edition. Alright, so with that, we'd like to go on a very short commercial break, and of course, when we come back, we'll get to take the details of the headlines making rounds on the front pages of our national dailies for this morning. So stay tuned. It is still from the newspapers. We'll be right back.
You are listening to the #1 radio station, Him FM, the station that is projecting the truth.
Ìgbà tó tó bá ní ṣe baálé ọba gbọ́migbọ́mi, kọ̀ǹkọ̀ tó tún kọ̀ǹkọ̀ ní ṣe ọba wọn lálẹ́ odò. Ó jẹ́ tìròyìn tó kojú owó, orin tó dùn ún gbọ́ létí, àṣà, ẹ̀fẹ̀ àtàwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣítí lọ́lọ́kanjọ̀kan. Ìkànnì AFM rédíò ọba ló jẹ́ láwùjọ rédíò.
The Aces Hotels and Conference Center is one and only event place with a clear difference and tasteful excellence here in the ancient city of Ibadan. For your next and upcoming event, whether marriage engagement, wedding reception, anniversaries, conferences, seminars, or birthday, the Aces Hotels and Conference Center is affordable and fully equipped with all imaginable ultra-modern facilities for your total convenience without headache, security, power, environment, parking space, and royal service by their staff. All roads lead to the Aces Hotel and Conference Center today at 2.5 Ijokodo Akbete Akufo Road, Akere, Ibadan. For booking and more information, call 080-8746-7420, 080-9744-1898, or 080-2869-0012. the Aces Hotels and Conference Center, where
MFM ìrẹ́rìn lónìí gbò ìrẹ́fọ́n ló lọ́ọ̀dún gbogbo tí tó ń gbọ́ mi ní tìlẹ̀ tó kò lẹ́yìn odi MFM TV ní ká máa lò sí o torí wọ́n jẹ́ ẹni tó níbẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run lọ́kàn gidi gan-an ni ẹ bá wọn dòwò pọ̀ kẹ́ ẹ lè jàǹfààní wọn ni èmi èjìrí òkí ló ń kéde léyìí sí gbogbo etí ọmọ aráyé pátápátá ẹ jẹ́ bá MFM dòwò pọ̀ ká lè sórí ire nìtọ́rẹ́ ní tá a bá fẹ́ lélẹ́dùmarè máa fẹ́.
MFM fún ìdálárayá ètò àsìkò ìkọ́nilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ìgbà gbogbo AFM ní kẹ́ ẹ máa ń gbọ́ ẹ má gbé kúrò níbẹ̀ nígbà gbogbo ẹni tó bá níjó tí ò yó ẹni tó bá ráyọ̀ tí ò yọ̀ ọjọ́ tí ò pẹ́ ní sunra rẹ̀ láwọ̀ ara AFM ló ní kẹ́ ẹ níjó kẹ́ ẹ jó kẹ́ ẹ ráyọ̀ kẹ́ ẹ sì máa yọ̀ AFM ni ẹ máa gbọ́ ni ẹ máa wò nígbà gbogbo.
Station, Him FM, the station that is projecting the truth.
To have you back to from the newspaper, streaming live from MFM Radio and TV studios right here in the beautiful city of Ibadan. And of course, I've taken you through the headlines from the national dailies for this morning edition. Now we're moving straight into the details of the stories. But you know, we have to inform you again that we're live on Facebook at MFM TV. You can be a part of the conversation this morning. Just go right there to the platform, like, share, and also drop a comment on the stories that we'll be taking a look at this morning. Alright, so the very first story this morning from the Punch newspaper says, hunger protest, Tinubu's speech attract knocks and kudos, and here's the details of the story. The organizers of the End Bad Governance protest have demanded the release of 1,150 protesters allegedly arrested by the police during the first 3 days of the nationwide rallies. In response to the appeal by President Bola Tinubu to end the protest, which has claimed several lives following his broadcast on Sunday morning, the organizers Take It Back movement, Youth Rights Campaign, and the Creative Change Center in separate interviews with the newsmen on Sunday vowed to carry out the demonstration, stating that Tinubu did not address their demand in his Sunday morning national broadcast. Tinubu had called for dialogue and immediate end to the nationwide protests that have rocked the nation since Thursday. Protesters, largely youth, have been marching across several states, including Lagos and the federal capital territory Abuja, for the end to bad governance and economic hardship. Tear gas and gunshots were fired to disperse protesters and journalists in Abuja, with several arrests made by security operatives on Saturday. The protests have also marked by reported looting by hoodlums in Kano, Kaduna, and other northern states, with the police going after the culprit to recover some items. However, the president, who said his administration was ready to listen and address the concerns of the protesters, claimed he has heard their calls loud and clear. Tinubu also commiserated with the families of Nigerians who died during clashes with security forces and those who lost properties to looting recorded in various states. Alright, so the lead story on the Punch newspaper says hunger protest, Tinubu's speech attract knocks and kudos. And you can further read on this story from the Punch newspaper for this morning.
Audio Jungle.
Now reading from the Vanguard newspaper, and it says, protest, Tinubu broadcast fell short of expectations. Says organizers, Atiku, Soyinka, PDP, NLC, and others. Organizers of the nationwide protest against hardship, former Vice President Abubakar Atiku, Nobel laureate Prof. Wole Soyinka, and human rights activist Femi Falana San, as described as the early response of President Bola Tinubu to the protest, which was on its fourth day yesterday. Recall that the protesters had asked the president to address the nation and respond to their 15th point demand if they were to call off the protest. Not satisfied with the president's response to the protest, organizers of the protest continued with their action as they Gani Fairwine Park at Ojota in Lagos, Osun, and Kano, among other states yesterday, saying the nationwide protest did not address their demands.
Also, still from the Punch newspaper for this morning, the next story says DSS arrests end bad governance in Nigerian protest leader in Abuja, and here's the details to the story.
Audio Jungle.
Operatives of the Department of State Services have arrested one of the leaders of the ongoing Ed Bad Governance protest in the Federal Capital Territory, Michael Lenian. Lenin was picked up by the DSS around 2 a.m. on Monday at his residence in the Apple area of the FCT. Speaking with newsmen, the Director of Mobilization, Take It Back Movement, Damilare Adenola, said Lenin's house was raided by the DSS. He alleged that the DSS also assaulted him during his arrest. The DSS spokesperson, Peter Afunaya, could not be reached at the time of filing this report. Lenin, who is a national, was also one of the Saturday. At the briefing, he said that he is out of touch with reality in the country. Alright, so the story from the Punch newspaper says DSS arrests Ed Bad Governance in Nigeria protest leader in Abuja, and you can further read on this story from the Punch newspaper for this morning.
Still from the Vanguard newspaper, President's broadcast complete disaster, says Adeyanju. One of the main organizers of the nationwide protest, Mr. DG Adeyanju, described the broadcast by President Tinubu as a complete disaster. Adeyanju said, President Tinubu failed to address the demand of protesters, not even one, and it is very disappointing and unfortunate because there is no other way to explain it. However, those people in the villa cannot make the president see or hear what is going on in the country. The president could not order the arrest of people who killed peaceful protesters in the last couple of days, and it is really sad. The president's broadcast to the nation was just a complete
Still reading from the Punch newspaper this morning, the next story says Plateau imposes 24-hour curfew on state's capital, and here's the details. The Plateau State Governor, Caleb Mutwang, has declared a 24-hour curfew in Jos and Bukuru metropolis. In a statement on Sunday night, the governor said the curfew was imposed in the affected areas following reported cases of looting of goods in the Pauchi Road community and Zolo Junction by hoodlums on Sunday. The statement added that the governor warned those planning to unleash further terror on innocent residents to desist immediately or face the full route of the law. Alright, so the story says Plateau imposes 24-hour curfew on state's capital, and you can further read on this story from the Punch newspaper for this morning.
Still reading from the Vanguard newspaper. Food inflation, students drones on campuses. When Elisha, other names withheld, a student in one of the public universities in Lagos State, came home during a break, his father could then recognize him as taught as not sick. He was visibly emaciated, not thanks to malnutrition. On campus, the accounting education students told his inquisitive father that he was only able to afford bread and beans, since most of the food items has gone out of reach for average citizens. I was outside the house when I saw him coming on a commercial motorbike. Even from afar, I could see how lean he was when he came down and greeted me. I asked him whether he felt sick in school, and he said no, nothing of such happened. I asked him whether he knew he had emaciated and what he thought was the reason. The reply was shocking. He said he mostly ate bread and beans on campus. They cannot cook in the hostel, which are even overcrowded, to eat. What we call swallow is a luxury most of the time. I felt bad apart from him, and still have 3 other children in the same universities, and this is the school where we paid less than 40,000 naira as fee just a couple of years ago, and we are now being made to pay nearly 200,000 naira. Elisha father, a medical worker in the Lagos Teaching Hospital, said.
Still reading from the Punch newspaper this morning, the next story says Ladoja to get beaded crown this week, palace sources revealed, and here's the detail. Former governor of Oyo State and the Otun Olubadan of Ibadan land, Chief Rashidi Ladoja, will receive a ceremonial beaded crown this week, palace sources revealed on Sunday. Ladoja's decision to accept the beaded crown marked a reversal, as he had previously insisted that he would only wear the Olubadan crown. The controversy began during the tenure of the late Governor Abiola Jimobi, who introduced the beaded crowns for high chiefs. This move faced opposition in court from the then Olubadan of Ibadan land, Obasaliu Adetunji and Ladoja. Upon the assumption of office by Governor Seyi Makinde, the high chiefs were forced to drop the crowns before the confirmation of Obalekan Balogun as the Olubadan of Ibadan, as recommended by Ladoja. Makinde, however, reopened the beaded crown issue as Oba Balogun wrote to the governor, recommending that the high chief should wear the crown. The matter was deliberated at the State House of Assembly, following which the bill to amend the 1957 Olubadan Chieftaincy Declaration was passed and assented to by Governor Makinde. You can further read on this story from the Punch newspaper for this morning, and the story says Ladoja to get beaded crown this week, palace sources revealed.
Still reading from the Vanguard newspaper. IBB disowned post endorsing military rules, saying democracy has come to stay. Former military president General Ibrahim Babangida has dissociated himself from a post associating him to have endorsed the virtue of military rule over democratic governance. However, in a statement
from the Punch newspaper this morning, Obaseki blames federal government for hardship as protesters worship on street. And here's the details of the story. The Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, on Sunday said the hardship in the country is blamable on the policies of the federal government. This was as the hunger protesters in Edo State held its church service on the street. Obaseki, in his statement on Sunday, said his government had implemented several people-oriented programs to reduce the suffering of Edo people in the wake of the difficult living conditions which the people have had to endure arising from various policies that had been implemented by the federal government. Obaseki listed some of the programs to ameliorate the sufferings of the people, to include raising the minimum wage for workers to 70,000 naira to boost their purchasing power, introducing a free transport scheme along the route operated by the Edo City Transport Service, extending free Wi-Fi services to public space to help residents telecommute, and kickstarting a statewide feeding for the vulnerable implemented in partnership with Christians and Muslim institutions, among others. It was reported that some protesters in the ongoing nationwide End Bad Governance protests continued their protest on Sunday and held a church service on the road as part of Sunday activities in the state. Some civil society organizations had on Saturday withdrawn from the protest, opting to wait for President Bola Tinubu's nationwide broadcast on Sunday morning before deciding on the next line of action. Also, you can further read on this story from the Punch newspaper for today. And the story says, Obaseki blames federal government for hardship as protesters worship on street.
Audio Jungle.
The next story this morning from Oyo State says, Oyo Local Government Chairman floats new association, and here's the details of the story. The 33 local government chairmen in Oyo State have announced their decision to form an association to further the interests of their people. They disclosed the decision in a communique issued at the end of the meeting in Ibadan on Saturday. The communique neither named the new association nor clarified if the Oyo local government chairman are withdrawing from local government's umbrella body, the Association of Local Government of Nigeria. The chairman declared support for Governor Seyi Makinde, citing his leadership and achievements since his assumption of office. The development comes weeks after the judgment of the Supreme Court affirming the autonomy of local government. The Supreme Court in its judgment ruled that allocations due to the local government should be sent directly to councils from the Federal Allocation Account Committee. It also ruled that the state government lacked the authority to manage federal allocations on behalf of the local government. Following the judgment, Governor Makinde expressed his displeasure and set up committees to look into it and how to go about it. Alright, so the story from Oyo State and from the Punch newspaper says, Oyo local government chairman floats new association, and the story is on the Punch newspaper for this morning.
From the Guardian newspaper for this morning, federal government commits to tackling wildlife crimes, sees 3 billion naira pangolin skills. The federal government has reiterated its commitment to the fight against illegal wildlife trafficking and other crimes, which resulted to seizure of 3 billion worth of pangolin skills in Kebbi State. Ministers of result in will be resolute in the enforcing and law upskill of development of technology in fighting criminals, warning those who engage in crime of illegal wildlife trade to desist from such illegality, or laws will catch up with them.
To the number one radio station.
Alright, so with that, let's quickly go on a very short commercial break. And of course, when we come back, we get to take the last sets of the headlines for this morning. Alright, so stay tuned. It is still from the newspapers. We'll be right back.
Audio Jungle.
Him FM, the station that is projecting the truth.
ìgbà tó tó bá ní í ṣe baálé ọba gbọ́migbọ́mi kọ̀ǹkọ̀ tó tún kọ̀ǹkọ̀ ní í ṣe ọba wọn lálẹ́ odò ó jẹ́ tìròyìn tó pójú owó orin tó dùn ún gbọ́ létí àṣà ẹ̀fẹ̀ àtàwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣítí lọ́lọ́kanjọ̀kan ìkànnì AFM rédíò ọba ló jẹ́ láwùjọ rédíò. ọ̀tọ̀ ni gbogbo ọ̀yà ni ó mọ ẹpẹ́ra rẹ̀ lódù bó bá jẹ́ níbi tí kábàánì ra mọ́tò láti òkè òkun tàbí ó fẹ́ ra ojúlówó mọ́tò ilé tí ó já lọ́lọ́pẹ́ iléeṣẹ́ mọ́tò Onabis Automobile òní oyè àkànṣí eléyìí tó kalẹ̀ sí kìlómítà 8 Old Ife Road àdójúkọ ilé ìtajà àgbàlódé Brent sọ́ọ̀mì nílẹ̀ Ìbàdàn bóyá ẹ̀yin fẹ́ ra mọ́tò tàbí ẹ fẹ́ gbé mọ́tò rẹ́sẹ̀ láti orílẹ̀ òkèrè sórílẹ̀-èdè wa Nàìjíríà kódà orí ọ̀fẹ́ wà láti bá yín ṣe àmójútó láti bá yín ṣe àyẹ̀wò sí mọ́tò yín iléeṣẹ́ Onabis Automobile ohun gẹ́gẹ́ ni mò ń pè níyàn ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ wọn ni 0803 371 0636 0803 371 0636 Onabis Automobile boom 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 boom.
MFM ìrẹ́rìn lónìgbò ìrẹ́fọ́n ló lọ́ọ̀dún gbogbo tí tó ń gbọ́ mi ní tìlétò kò lẹ́yìn odi MFM TV ní ká máa lò sí o torí wọ́n jẹ́ ẹni tó níbẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run lọ́kàn gidi gan-an ni ẹ bá wọn dòwò pọ̀ kẹ́ ẹ lè jàǹfààní wọn ni èmi èjìrí àkí ló ń kéde léyìí sí gbogbo etí ọmọ aráyé pátápátá ẹ jẹ́ bá AFM dòwò pọ̀ ká lè sórí ire nìtọ́rẹ́ ní tá a bá fẹ́ lélẹ́dùmarè máa fẹ́.
You are listening to the number one radio station, Him FM, the station that is projecting the truth.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, so you are welcome back to from the newspaper, streaming live from MFM Radio and TV, right here in the beautiful city of Ibadan. Of course, we'll be bringing to you some of the stories making rounds on the front pages of our national dailies for this morning edition. So if you have anything to say or any comment to make on the story, just go right to our Facebook page at MFM TV to drop your comment or call us at 0815 9194247 to be a part of the program this morning. Alright, so still on the details of the stories for this morning. The next story from the Punch newspaper says, resign if you can pay 70,000 naira. NLC tells Gombe governor, and here's the detail. The Nigerian Labour Congress has advised governors who can pay the new 70,000 naira minimum wage to quit office. The Gombe State Governor Inuwa Yaya last week said his administration would not be able to pay the new national minimum wage of 70,000 naira. Yaya, who chairs the Northern Governor Forum, spoke at a meeting with labour leaders, civil society organizations, and trader association at the Government House in Gombe. Reacting to the Gombe Governor declaration, the head of public relations
Audio Jungle.
The next story this morning from the Nation newspaper says Ekiti Assembly set 5-year jail for land grabbers, and here's the detail. The Ekiti State House of Assembly has passed a law stipulating a 5-year jail term for land grabbers as part of effort to encourage investment in the state. This was disclosed at the weekend by the Speaker of the Assembly, Adeoye Akinbasoye, during a chat with journalists in Ado-Ekiti. Akinbasoye disclosed that the Assembly was also a move to regulate the activities of the estate agents in Ekiti State. The Director General Ekiti State Bureau of Housing and Multi-Development, Dr. Boyega Oloniyo, had recently disclosed that the state government has begun moves to check the trend of outrageous house rent in the state by regulating the real estate sector in the state. Oloniyo spoke during a meeting of government representatives with the real estate players under the aegis of the Estate Rent and Commission Agents of Nigeria Ekiti State chapter, that the state government will soon make laws and regulations to check the high rent in the state to make life easy for residents. He also disclosed that work will soon begin on the houses that the federal government through the Federal Housing Authority and the Federal Ministry of Housing want to provide for Ekiti State, saying that this would address the real estate players' demand for more houses. Alright, so the story from Ekiti State says Ekiti Assembly set 5-year jail for land grabbers, and the story is on the Nation newspaper for this morning.
Audio Jungle.
A total of 5,474 primary and secondary schools across Nigeria have joined the Safe School project in the past 11 months in a significant move to enhance the safety and security of students and teachers. However, an alarming 2,885 of these schools lack basic security measures. The Safe School project is domiciled under the cooperation of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, following the abduction of 276 girls from their schools in Chibok. The Safe School initiative was launched by the United Nations Special Envoy for Global Education. The initiative entails a combination of school-based interventions, community interventions to protect schools, and special measures for at-risk population. The project also includes training for teachers, students, and other school community members in basic safety and security skills. Due to the resurgence of mass abduction of pupils, the Safe School portal was introduced last September to facilitate the registration of schools and enable swift and coordinated responses from security agencies in the event of an attack. And according to data from an app developed to monitor school registration for the portal by its portal and cited by the newspaper on Sunday, nearly half of the registered schools lack essential security features such as fences, gates, and security guards. respected chairman, sir, we wish you a plenty of joy today and every day of the coming year. You're a perfect example of wisdom, leadership, and foresight. On your birthday, sir, we wish you peace, good health, and happiness. Happy birthday once again, sir. The CEO of AMFM Radio and TV and the CEO of the Aces Hotel and Conference Center right here in Ibadan, Mr. Dr. Abiola Olaniyan. Alright, so with that, we've come to the end of the program on From the Newspaper, streaming live from MFM Radio and TV, right in the beautiful city of Ibadan. My name is Mobolaji Karim. Thank you for listening and thank you for being a part of the program this morning. The